Hey guys, Bright Raven 3D here, and today I'll be breaking down a Cyberpunk environment render. This is one of my dailies, and I'm going to be taking you through the entire process from the ground all the way up to the buildings. Let's get to it. So in this scene, I started off with a plane. I separated everything to a collection. And I labeled it. It's a practice that very much helps you, keep things organized and to identify things that are in the scene, and it also helps, to hide things that you don't want in the render, or if you want to add things that are specific to whatever collection you have. Okay, so I started off with creating a very simple plane, and I added a asphalt texture and I made it wet. With the simple node tree that I usually do. I will be getting into that in another video, explaining how I do that. But yeah, so once that's done, also if you notice, it is a bit repeating, but once you have everything in, it's not really noticeable if you don't. Once you have all those details in there, you're not really paying attention to that part, but it also matters with, how you place things and all that. But yeah, so once you have that done, I then went to add the buildings. So I usually go into the Z-axis to add my buildings. So, let's drag them in here. Yeah, so I went to the, asset browser, I looked at my kits, whatever I had, and I dragged them in. So I usually go into the Z-axis, simply because this helps me map out everything, in terms of building placements. So, this is a classic practice. For me, I took inspiration from, playing video games and looking at maps like Call of Duty, or like, if you're a fan of the backrooms, you know how that's set up like a maze and everything, but there you can see where everything's placed, right? Or if you played Battlefield, you understand that, oh, this is where this building is, or like, oh, this is where C point is, or something like that. But point being is that it very much helps create, how wide you want your alleyways to be, how big you want your streets to be. Really allows you to see the placements of the buildings and how much you can really get done in such an area. So after I got that done, I was thinking about who's going to be my main focus. Am I going to have any people in here? What kind of details am I going to have? Do I even want to add buildings in the background? What do I really want to do in this situation? So if we go to the rendered view, so we go into the rendered view, and now we see all the details. You can also mess with the emissions of the the textures and everything, how much you want it to actually be shown. So obviously this scene needs a little something up here. I'm also using a panoramic camera, so I want a lot to be shown. So now we get into the background building. So once you get into the background buildings, you can also use the Z-axis to really look at the locations of it, but a very good idea as well, considering that they're very, very large. I really wanted to use large building. I split the screen into two, and I have one in camera view and one is just over, so I just start moving it around just to see. Alright, where are these guys? They're more on the plane, they're a lot closer. So I can just move that around. Do I want it here, there, right? So kind of fill out the frame, because it's going to be, a good handful of things. So once I have all of these buildings placed, mind you, I want to fill out any holes to kind of that would basically take away from the realism of the scene. So anything that would take you out of that scene, I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. So if, let's say, I have something like this, like if you have an empty space like this, it immediately takes you out. It's going to be dark, and people are going to be wondering what's back there. So I want this scene to be enclosed. right? Because then people are like, oh, there's so much going on here. If I make a left, I'm going to be heading towards these buildings. There's going to be more, etc., right? So with that, you're not going to be worrying too much, and even with yourself, you have to be thinking, well, am I there? Or like, oh wait, no, I feel like I'm not there. Like there's an empty hole back there, whatever. So once that happens, you start to see what you can do in terms of how you're going to be lighting things. So this is the second part. So once you set everything up, you start worrying about lighting. I usually set my composition up first. As you saw, the camera was already set up with the plane, because I wanted a nice angle kind of like leading towards everything. Then you start worrying about, so camera first, buildings, and then lighting. So now with lighting, this is where things get very fun. We want, lighting to be shown in the other alley over there from the top. So now let's click it in. So my idea was I really wanted to have at least 2 more pieces of lighting. I added 2 area lights, so one pushing this way, another one facing that way, and one over here by the stairs to light up that inside as well. So once I have that lighting done, I'm like, great, right? You want it to be, lit from the side. It's going to show the details of this building, the ground. This is going to be nice and lit up. Everything is well lit up. What's next? People. You want to add some people. Let's bring them in. So now this is my main guy. He is going to be the somewhat main focus of the entire scene. Well, obviously the entire scene is the main focus, but he's going to be kind of guiding the eye, right? There's that comes naturally with composition. Sometimes it takes a lot of practice as well, but once you become more familiar, that becomes very natural. So you kind of set things up accordingly. So see these guys, this is all according, right? And also, as you see, I place this guy very specifically around here so he can be shown and lit up by that light, right? Okay. In this scene, I also had cars, but when I was working on it before I had everything done, I had a car set up, and that's why I placed this guy here. But if anything, you can also place people and accordingly, and then add objects after. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. It depends on the workflow, right? So you want to be able to tell a story in these scenes as well, even it could be the simplest story. So this guy is waiting for his car. Someone could be coming out of this car. This guy could be a bouncer. He's like observing, like ready to go. This guy's walking. This guy's also walking. Great. So now you have those things down, but something's missing. There's something missing, and it's the trash, the details that really put things together, right? So that's when you bring in all of this in and the extra stuff. So usually before I do any of that, I look at the scene as it is, and I want to make sure that the scattering of these objects are they make sense, that they're not random, that they fit the scene, and that they're going to really bring the scene together and not take you out of it. So let me explain. So obviously I have fog now in this scene. This is literally the last thing you want to do, but fog, that volumetric fog really brings the scene to life, and it also helps with the illumination of the scene. It scatters the light, and it just gives a lot more depth as well. But yeah, so in this scene, I really wanted to just add as much detail as possible. Sometimes you have wires laying down in Cyberpunk scenes. These I simply just added a curve and went into edit mode, and I just drew them on like this. Very simple. Yeah, so yeah, and sometimes in cyberpunk scenes, like, you see that there's a lot of trash like randomly thrown out in the open. Here I really wanted to kind of create the like kind of fake that there was another alleyway behind him, like he came out of an area. So that's why you have this nice curb here. You have the fire hydrant and trash and all that, and it's kind of like, it's a very tiny area because there's trash on the corner. So you have to think about what's in frame as well, not what's out, because what's out really doesn't matter, because what you're going to be rendering is what's in here in that frame. Yeah, so what I start thinking about is, again, as I said before, is how I scatter things. So, I grab what I have, I start moving it around. I'm like, okay, this is, seems pretty good. I look at my trash pack that I have. I'm like, because before this sidewalk didn't have anything at all. So I added this here. I added this guy here. I was like, all right, this needs that. Yeah. Hold on, let me get that down. Great. And this little corner could have added something, so I would move him. And this building didn't have anything here, and I thought that why not add some pipes there. And to add to the lighting as well of this scene, I even added some of these arcade game assets that have some emission on the screens. Very, very slight, but it does the job for what it's supposed to do, which is, it always works out. Right, and here, I forgot to mention, I also added a little point light, something very, very small. I didn't want it to, shoot out like this one, but I just wanted to illuminate this, stairway. Just to show that, hey, there's stuff going on in here, right? Yeah, so that's basically it. But yeah, I hope this breakdown was helpful, and you guys got something out of it. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.